Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I'm doing more video reviews than usual. It's amazing how many movies you can watch when you watch them 5 minutes at a time versus watching them 1 or 2 minutes at a time. So I just finished Alien Resurrection, and I watched it pretty much all in one day. I watched like 20 minutes last night before I went to sleep, and then I kind of knocked it out this afternoon. This is amazingly fast for me. And another amazing thing, I remember when this came out. I remember it really, really well for a couple reasons. Number one, I was super poor. I used to take the bus everywhere. And so deciding on a movie to see was like one of the major things I thought about. Like I would think for weeks, because it was a major purchase, you know, like a movie, and you get the soda, and then you got the bus there and back. Oh boy. So I did not spend as much time thinking before I enlisted, every single time I ever enlisted, as I did before every movie I saw in the 1990s. What I remember of it was people just kind of like, not exactly slagging it, but you'd ask people and they go, how was it? They're like, yeah. Have you seen the other ones? Yeah. And then they would just kind of trail off. That to me was, this movie is really bad. And I remember it getting pretty bad reviews. I just looked it up. It did okay-ish. It was the fall of 1997 when it came out. And I just watched it, and it was just fine. It started off not so great, and then it just kind of slowly got better and better until by the end I was like, I totally could have seen me, you know, walking out of the theater in 1997 with a spring in my step, like, I made a good decision. One of the things that it was slagged for, they're like, you know, Ripley died and now they're just bringing her back, and it's just a cheap, you know, cash grab. But if you watch the movie, they make it really clear that this is not Ripley. This is not the woman from the first 3 movies. That woman is dead, and that this is someone completely different. Same DNA, some of the same traits, but one of the things I liked about it so much is they just didn't like hand wave, oh, it's a clone, it's fine, no, everything's fine. Like that stupid shit they did in Star Trek Picard, where they gave him an android body that had all the same like wrinkles and liver spots and like quavering old man voice. Like, really, bro? So this one, they basically established that this is Ripley's DNA, some of Ripley's memories, and essentially a completely new character. A weird, wonky clone that has some alien DNA in her, and that was a huge relief that we weren't going to do this stupid hand wave, oh, she died, but she's back. It's like, oh, geez, I get enough of that in comics. I don't need it in movies. So the story is, it's, I think, 200 years after the events of Alien 3, although, speaking of hand wave, it's like, it's 200 years in the future, but everything's pretty much the same except for the robots, which I thought they called them androids in the early ones. They have a next gen. There's a second gen 200 years later. Only one more gen. And I guess like there's like a small hint at some like cyborg enhancements on people. That's about it. It's kind of like the same tech and everything. So there's a research vessel doing illegal experiments. They're basically subjecting humans to be impregnated by the alien. I forget all the proper terms for the alien cycle of life, but they're doing cloning of Ripley, because then when they clone Ripley, since she was pregnant, that also clones her fetus somehow. I'm not sure if that that definitely does not work. And didn't she fall in, whatever. It's sci-fi. It's fine. Now, here's the problem. And I read this Joss Whedon interview, and he was completely slagging it, but he said something very interesting. He says, you know, I've been slagging this and disavowing this movie based off of his script. You know, at the time it was like, had been around for like 8 years. He goes, but everyone assumes that I'm saying they changed my script. He says they filmed my script almost exactly. He just didn't like the choices. And I totally know what he's meaning at the beginning. Like, they have that It's not Dan Castellaneta. He was like the bad lawyer in the Addams Family. He's in everything. He was in Cheers. You know that guy. When you see him, you've seen him in everything in the 80s and 90s. Like, there's this, it's directed by a French guy, Junot. All I remember him was from this art movie from the early 90s called Delicatessen. It was like, I don't know, it was everywhere for a while, like every single art. Do you remember, does anyone remember like art movies and like art movie theaters? Do they still have them? They used to be like in every city of any kind of size, and now not so much. But there's a style of humor that's very, very French that for some reason the director decided to put a lot of it, and it's not in the script because it's not like, the funny things is like Dan, not Castellaneta, whatever that guy's name is, he wakes up and he has really hairy arms, and you can see him in his little sleeveless, uniform, and then like he's one of those generals that has an over-the-top costume. What? And then there'll be like characters, like everyone kind of gesticulates really wildly, especially in the first 20 minutes. It feels like almost kind of a different movie than the end. The weird thing is, at the end, it becomes more, I would call maybe formulaic, but weirdly enough, a lot better, since there's some, good sequences, there's some good reversals, there's some nice character bits. Like, it turns into a good movie. So they have like Brad Dourif and Dan, not Castellaneta, and everyone's like really overacting, and there's a lot of like this French humor of like people looking almost right at the camera, not at the camera, but like right off of the camera, and they like make these really over the top expressions. You're like, oh no, that doesn't really work here. It just looks like it looks like a children's show, like you're gonna teach us all how to like spell or something like that. So they spend some time with the weird Ripley clone, and she's actually really funny and fun. It's the funny thing is, they always do these things where actors will like take a gig, and they're like, why did you take this? And they're like, well, I was so acting is their job, and they took this job because of money. Now Sigourney Weaver apparently said she took it for this one scene where she meets a bunch of clones of herself and kills one of them, and that is a good scene, but she did it for the money. But I also thought she probably liked doing like a more fun character. Like, this Ripley is like a little wild. She's fun. She's interesting. So I like that. I'm gonna actually rewatch Alien 3 probably tomorrow. But I remember that one being extremely dour and her being a super downer. So she probably, a couple, years later, she's like, oh, I'm like a fun, crazy, like Ripley clone. Whatever, how much am I being paid? That's fine. So one of the things I like about this movie is one of those things where at the beginning you're like, I hate this. This is a problem. By the end, you're like, oh, that's why they were doing that, and it makes sense, and I like it. Like, they have, I'm blanking on everyone. Winona Ryder, and she's, I don't know, like, she just sticks out so much. And you're like, what is Winona Ryder doing in an Alien movie? And then you remember that it's like Joss Whedon, and then she's like a hero trying to track down and like kill aliens. You're like, oh, she's like Buffy the Alien Slayer. She's like teeny tiny. She's got like this little kid voice. You're like, what is this? And then, spoiler, it turns out that she's a next gen robot, cyborg, android, whatever. And then she actually has like a nice little story, and it all ties together very nicely. And same with Ripley. It has a happy ending. That's weird. It's weird, and it's not like a boom, boom, boom. Although I forgot to watch all of the credits, because I know at the end of Aliens 2, there's a little like slithering like tail sound they put in there. But it seemed to be like, hey, let's wrap this all up and give, not Ripley, but kind of Ripley, like she's got like a pseudo daughter, and she's back on Earth and kind of got a new lease on life. So that I liked. One thing I did notice is that there's a couple of weird things. This felt almost like a TV show. Like, you keep going down the same hallways over and over and over again. But then they open it up, and there'll be some really great sets for like a 5-minute scene. So it feels like TV budget for like a lot of it. There's this like group of pirates, or for like the first hour, you're like, we have to go with this shit. But then, everything starts to click and line up. It's like all the tumblers, line up, and the lock opens, and the door opens, and there's fresh air. It works. It works. I will say something that I noticed, and then when I look it up, so I noticed the guns just didn't work for me. Like, they looked weird, they looked wonky. They did a couple of close-ups, and they just looked like one giant piece of rubber that had been painted. And then in the although there is one cool gun, it's like a makeshift shotgun. This handicap guy had like he's got this really wonky wheelchair, and he like hides it in there so it passes inspection. That's a pretty cool gun, but they basically said none of the guns had a real gun underneath. That's a traditional thing to do in sci-fi, is you take a real world gun, that has action and can shoot blanks and stuff like that, and then you put some wonky stuff on the outside, because then you can get like a flash out of the front of it. You get the little reaction of the actor. That's always shocking when you see like behind the scenes of like Return of the Jedi, and you realize like in some of the scenes there were actually like blanks in the weapons, and there would be a cartridge that come out, but they would shoot it from the other angle where you wouldn't see the cartridge. You're like, oh shit, that's weird. But you see it in the the reaction. So these guns were just like not based on anything. They didn't have any actual mechanism inside of them, so they seemed really bakey, fake. It was good. I liked it. It was fun. I felt like it was lit very like an episode of Saved by the Bell, but it's a popular show. But anyway, so thanks for watching, and it absolutely is a recommend. I'm trying to think if I missed anything else. No, it was they had a really good scene in like it was like a good scene that went into another good scene. So there was a actually it was like 3 action scenes. So it's like for like an hour, and then as soon as you see them dive and swim through a kitchen, it makes sense in the movie. Then like it's pretty much good for the rest of it. Besides a couple of monster teleportations. Wait, how is the monster here? And okay, fine. It was really fast. It's like a Jedi speed. That one scene in Phantom Menace, like literally one scene where all of a sudden the Jedis can run like the Flash, and then they never use it again. So, whatever. He had a burst of speed. He had adrenaline. Whatever. He's sneaky. But yeah, it worked. It was fun. I kept thinking, it's like, what do you want? It's a movie. It's a movie. You already got it on one of the streaming services. Technically, you didn't pay anything more than a couple pennies for that. What do you want? You got 2 hours of entertainment. It's pretty good. What do you want? But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll have, what's the next one? I'll probably do Alien 3 next. Bye.